I'm here with Bonnie Hardy. Her tagline is love, laughter, whodunit. When she isn't walking her dogs or catching up on Netflix while baking cookies, she's reading cozy mystery books. Like the relatable characters in her books, Bonnie knows what it's like to keep secrets for the best of reasons and to be brutally honest to a fault. Bonnie believes that one step in the right direction creates hope, and that hope brings about change, even in the most sinister of characters. Born and raised in Los Angeles, Bonnie is a former teacher, choir director, and preacher. She lives with her husband and two dogs in Southern California. She's published several books and also has published in Christian Century, Presence, an international journal for spiritual direction, and with Pilgrim Press. When not planting flowers and baking cookies, Bonnie can be found plotting her next Lily Rock mystery. Her latest book is 'Tis the Season. Welcome to Lily Rock Holiday Mystery. Bonnie loves to connect with readers through her newsletter and on Instagram, and you can learn all about her work at bonniehardywrites.com. So Bonnie, it's so great to see you again, and congratulations on all that you've done.
Thank you, Brian. Good to see you.
So to get started, what else would you like people to know about you than what I kind of briefly touched on?
Gosh, I don't know. I think that's about it. I write a lot. So that about says it all, the cookies and everything.
Well, I mean, you've written a lot of books. So, I mean, could you kind of just touch on the different genres, the different types of books that you read?
Right. So when I switched, a lot of my writing was nonfiction, and then I went to fiction and wrote two books under another name, Barbara Hardy, which were very personal experiences, and they were fictionalized. And I realized the power of fiction, the power of including myself in any number of characters and how that expresses itself and how I grew to love the fictionalized versions of the various archetypes that are in my life. So then I remembered I love cozy mysteries. I've loved Agatha Christie and Nancy Drew and all that. I thought I want to act out what I believe in the characters of these books. Was a UCC pastor, and I have an open-ended experience of the beloved community, and so I wanted to see what that looked like on the page.
Wow. Well, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
So before the new one, the 'Tis the Season book,
Correct.
How many of the cozy mysteries have you written?
So the Lily Rock Mystery Series, the basic series, I've already written and will be publishing the fifth book in January. Okay. So there's a trajectory of, there are tropes in mysteries, as we're familiar with Agatha Christie. So what I do is I play with the tropes, but I put them in contemporary settings. The first book is about the main character, Olivia, who goes to Lily Rock and meets all these different people, including a dog who's the mayor called McGuire in the town, right? It's quirky and it's kind of funny, but there's a serious sense of personal experience. And by the second book, Influenced to Death, I write about an influencer who is faking her cancer journey and gets murdered, and then how Olivia, the amateur sleuth, deals with that. Also, the third book is third or fourth, Timely Death actually, is about a transgender young man who's accused of murdering his grandfather. And so how the community copes with his gender fluidity. It was a really big challenge for me to write with they, them pronouns. It took a lot of editing. I've got some fabulous feedback from some, and somebody told me they didn't read cozy mysteries to get woke, which I thought was, I mean, that's good feedback.
That's funny.
Good for you. But the whole point in these is the genre. Who wants to read these books? Publishing in fiction now, I don't know if it's the same for nonfiction, but you want to find your ideal reader. That's the whole point. And so if somebody doesn't want to get woke when they read my books, fine. They don't need to read my books. I release you to the world to find something that's better for you.
Sure.
So that's kind of an example. I had a book on the college admission scandals. I called it, I invented a music camp or a music school in Lily Rock, and there were kids there who had been admitted through nefarious ways and really weren't qualified. I riffed off the Rick Gates piece in the news at the time. And then the latest one is Deadbeat Dad, how this guy, everybody hates him and his kids hate him and his ex hates him. And they make up all these lies about him. Turns out he's a great father.
Really? So, wow.
That's an overview.
So 'Tis the Season, is that like kind of the first book in a new series, basically? How does that work?
It is. So it's not just a spin-off, it's a prequel to the first book in the other series. So I take the people who were there before Olivia arrives and they get their backstories, and I'm going to do 3. I just finished writing this first draft of the second one, but I published the first one. And by the way, it will be free. If people want to follow my website or Instagram, it's going to be free on December 26th. So you can pick it up free. And it's about the characters. It's about how the dog arrived in the town. It's about Michael Bellemere, who is the hunky architect who is part of the love interest with Olivia, and his backstory. And then it's about the police presence in Lily Rock is a woman named Janice Jetts and how she gets there to the town.
So I read in the description that it's a novella, and
yes,
I know that a novella is shorter than a quote unquote novel.
Right.
But how much shorter, and why did you choose to do it that way?
So the most of my books are 80,000 words. The Lily Rock Core series. The novellas are novellas are half that size.
Okay.
Or a little less than half.
Book.
Yeah. So I published them with the same ebook launch artistry and title and covers, so they have a similar flair. But I didn't have the space to write 2 entire novels, a third novel a year. I want to publish 3 things a year. And I thought, I'm going to make these shorter. You know, it's Christmas. People kind of like sitting down for a couple hours and reading a book, and it just appealed to me. So that's why I did the novella.
Interesting. That sounds like a really smart choice.
I hope so.
So let's go back to audience, because you talked about that, earlier. I totally get it, how important that is. But how would you describe your audience?
So I've been to a couple book fairs, author events. And that's what my teacher self, I was also the director of a literacy center for a few years. And my teacher self just comes out. I just see people, I go, what do you like to read? What book of yours are you reading now? And I could tell right away if they're interested in cozy mysteries or not. I mean, this is not everybody's deal. And I'm not even that. I kind of push the envelope with cozies by writing in a contemporary genre as well. So, but it's just a joy to hear and see what people read, especially younger people. And there's a lot of reading online. People don't want to pick up a book. And so I find that mostly women read my books. And they age maybe from 30 up. Then there are some younger people who are starting to really be attracted to the cozy mysteries, the sense of a good and evil, the sense of, you're going to get an ending that's satisfying, and nobody's going to get killed that you care about. You bump off somebody who's really a pain in the neck, or you don't really know them.
Interesting.
So there's a sense of confidence that the author is not going to, kick you in the gut with the character. Those are the people I'm looking for. The people who sit down with a book and a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and go, oh gosh, I really care about these people.
So, over time, you and I have had several conversations about marketing, right?
Yes.
And I feel like you've really done well at that. You've learned a lot in terms of speaking what you do. And so what's your latest thinking on marketing and what's most effective?
Well, I didn't know anything about marketing until I called you. Nothing. I didn't have any clue how fun it would be to be a small business owner. It's really been a remarkable journey for me. And so what happened, probably people don't know, but when I called you, you set me up with a Facebook page and some advertising, which I finally realized, well, anybody who has a small business needs to put money in up front, you know, and I ended up getting a lot of people following my blog, which I never sold a book. I don't think I sold one book from that, but I got the confidence I needed to write every day, and the confidence of having those people. And in that time, I decided I want to be a self-publisher. I am not of the age that I have the patience for tracking down people to like my stuff. I just want it out there. And the cozy mystery genre I discovered through looking at marketing. Independent writers make more money. They make more money than people with publishers. So
yeah. More per book,
right?
For sure.
More per book, right?
A lot more per book.
So after stumbling, I tried a few other things. I tried going through Standout Books. I went through Create Space. You know, with my other two books, I found a writing assistant. Her name is Kate Tilton, and she was just a godsend to me. She directed me into researching a specific genre and how to publish, how to find. So I have a team, and I have an editor who goes through my work 3-4 times before I put it out there. So I no longer get feedback about misspelled words. I mean, it's a huge downer, right? To say, oh, there's a mistake here. Nobody's reading a story if they see an error. And then the marketing, the book covers have been great marketing attractions. People love the covers, and it's worth the financial investment. To pick 2 or 3 platforms and don't go out, think you have to be everything to everybody. To put things out 3-4 times a week, and don't let it overwhelm, and also share parts of your life that kind of undergird your brand, whatever that is, right? Get a decent picture to put on everything, as you had advised. And then I like Canva. So I go into Canva, make up pictures, and put them on Instagram. So that's what I've learned about marketing. You know, people follow.
You really have utilized your email newsletter incredibly well too, I would say.
Yeah, I do that twice. And Kate helps with that. So she goes into mail. I do all the writing, and then she goes into MailerLite, and we're part of a Cozy Mystery Book Club. We get new subscribers every month, which has taken my 25 hard-earned people who followed the newsletter 18 months ago to 600. And we take people back who don't want to be there, and we're always refreshing that newsletter feed to keep people interested but not overwhelmed with my postings.
Have you found Facebook groups to be useful?
Let's see. Yes, if it's, yes, very useful, because the Cozy Mystery Writers, we get together and we're on a Facebook group. Or I'll look at writing for your life, to be inspired, or to feel that I'm part of I'm still part of a group who's trying to express their experience of the holy through writing. Even if I don't write a memoir, I'm still there with my fiction. And I find Facebook very helpful.
Cool. So let's talk about the spiritual dimension of this. I mean, these are secular books, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're not religious and filled with scripture or, preachy or anything close to, any of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, as you said, you put your UCC pastor training hat on and influence what's going on. So talk about kind of how you do that.
I have my core group of characters now. I just started a new series, which is going to come out next year. So it's going to be a middle-aged couple. But it's the same process. So I start with the people. I think, what aspects of archetypes and people do I want to embrace? Then I come up with a basic plot, and I try to include something fairly relevant from the news. And That, like in the Lily Rock series, there is a two-spirit character who is transgender. And I don't, one of the things that somebody has said to me, and I didn't realize what I was doing, is I don't explain it. I don't talk about the political correctness of it, or I always have a character who questions it. Like my Janice Jets will go, I'm not calling her a they, them, blah, blah, blah. You know, she complains about it. So that's what I try to represent all points of view, but also say, this could be your grandchild. And what are you going to do about it if it is your grandchild? And then the community will support this person and raise them up, you know, as a possibility for redemption, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So those are Christian values, right? And the beloved community where people get along no matter how diverse they are and how unusual. Christian values. The dog is honestly the Holy Spirit. That dog runs around town and befriends people, and nobody quite knows why, and everybody loves him, and he kind of adds a spark to things and occasionally tosses in a clue. It's a Christian value. I don't say, when I do write about, like in one of the seasonal books, there's a creche scene and they lose baby Jesus. I make sure they're running around town trying to find baby Jesus through the biker gang, and then there's a fire. But I try to include other expressions of holidays like Kwanzaa, or I don't pretend to know them because I don't. But the characters in my books name them and are not totally Christocentric. They're just not. Mm-hmm. They're very open. They're very much like the UCC.
Very cool. So, we both are familiar with Frederick Buechner, who was master at, infiltrating spiritual questions into novels. Who else have you had as a role model for
that? Wow. Kathleen Norris. Was she, I don't know if she wrote novels. Did she write a novel? It's been a while since I've read it.
Yes. I couldn't tell you the name of it, but.
Okay. So we're, everybody who you have as a speaker, everybody, and even Barbara Brown Taylor's sermons, and Tyler. I'm trying to think who recently. I've been reading Irish writers lately. And that's a true expression of Catholicism and the Protestant piece, especially in the Troubles, and how novels will write about that tension. It's without being religious. You write about the traditions. There's a labyrinth in Lily Rock, and the American Indian woman is often there. She's often has a wisdom piece. And it's really important for me not to assume that I know what it's like to be American Indian or African American, or I'm a white lady writing about other people. So I tread that ground very carefully.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. I write a lot about white privilege, though.
Good.
Yeah, and how it affects children, Yeah.
So you mentioned before, you're self-publishing, basically.
Yes.
Are you using Amazon?
I publish on several platforms: Amazon, Kobo, BookFunnel, and all sorts of things. Kate has me all lined up for them.
So why? I'm trying to learn here. Why do you choose multiple platforms like that?
Because you make more profit, and you're out there, and your name's out there.
Really? So your distribution?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, Kate will go through a whole line of countries when we set up a price point. There has to be 25 different countries the books can be published in. So they're out there. Yeah. I don't do. There isn't. But I take her suggestions because she's an assistant and a writing professional for people in my genre and other genres.
So she's got a lot of experience with.
She does, and she's like, barely 30. My whole team of people are millennials. And I get to be the one I'm the learner, right? And it's incredible for me to interact with them. And I love contributing to their small businesses. It's just part of the pay it forward piece for me.
Sure.
Which struck me when you were talking too about paying it forward with handing off the baton of your platforms.
Yeah.
It's the same piece. You and I are in that age group, right? We don't just get to hang on to it for ourselves. So everybody who reads that book, even if they wouldn't have picked it up off the shelf, has learned about Lily Rock and the Beloved Community.
Well, it's great that you surrounded yourself with other younger entrepreneurs, basically.
Yeah.
Freelancers. That's, I think such a trend. I mean, trend's not the right word. That's just the way the world is moving.
Survival is what it is.
Yeah.
And creativity.
Yes.
The incredible creativity.
And, taking the route that you have, must give you tremendous flexibility.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of release date, in terms of covers, in terms of titles, in terms of anything you can think of.
I get to pick it all.
Yeah.
I love that. At my particular point, I'm tired of answering to corporations or churches or whatever. This is me, and I take the fall.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's
right or wrong. There's nobody else to
right or wrong. Right. But it's remarkably energizing.
Yeah, you and I think a lot of the same way, Bonnie.
Oh, good. Okay. And this is not retirement for me. This was just a transition. I finally said to the ministry, I don't want to be official. I preach now and then. It's healthy for me but it's writing. That's what it's still writing. But no more ministry, because and other people need that job. How about that?
Yes.
Other people need that job. I can move forward and do this.
So what about like public speaking, book tours, book signings? Are you doing much of that these days?
So I have Idlewild, California is a small mountain town, and we own a cabin up there and have for three decades, and I went there as a kid. I am connected and doing a book signing and author piece with them at the end of January. And I have done book fairs up there. I connect with they have a local bookshop who didn't want to carry Cozy Mysteries at first. And now she's realizing this is exactly the book that people who visit for weekends want to read. So you interact with that. So there's that piece. I also am in the San Diego writers. You can send them a book and they will, it's what they're calling it, something online. And then my book goes to a local San Diego library. And I picked Timely Death with my transgender character because I really think that needs to be out there. And if people like that book, they can read others in the series. So I've done that. I haven't, COVID was, there for such a long time. And I did do a couple book signings. They're not nearly as effective as an online presence.
Interesting.
It's the online, you take pictures of it and you can put it online, but it's the online thing that gets people to look at the books.
Wow. Well, talk about reaching your audience, right? Your audience is very dispersed. They're not just in San Diego or wherever.
No.
They're spread all over the place. And if you can
sometimes they get mad. I can't go to San Diego to see you, blah, blah, blah. You got to be like chill with that. Right?
Yeah. I think.
Do you find that with your book?
Well, I mean, I actually have more experience relative to conferences, I would say. Yeah. Because I do so many of those per year.
You're kind of the poster man for it.
Well, I mean, it's just like, before the pandemic, I did everything in person.
In person, right.
Because if you go back to when I very first started Writing for Your Life in 2016, the first thing I did actually was a webinar series. Because I came from high tech. And I thought,
yes.
In the world, isn't this segment of the industry doing more online? Instead of doing all these in-person conferences. Well, I quickly found out that's what the market wanted. They wanted to go see Barbara Brown Taylor or whoever in person, right? And like kind of a getaway, in some sense for a couple of days.
Right.
Out of their normal routine with an experience. Well, when the pandemic hit, obviously, all that went away and everyone had to get used to using Zoom, for everything almost. So, it was, the market changed, right? In
It
terms
did
of
change.
what the
Right.
users would accept or look for. And obviously during the pandemic, they didn't have a choice between the two, right? It was online only. So now coming out of the pandemic, I think it's just going to be really interesting, not just for what I'm doing, but everyone, in terms of where is that needle going to point? It's not going to go all the way back to where it was before the pandemic. I don't think it'll be
so.
all the way, online like it was during the pandemic. I think it's going to be somewhere in between, but I don't know where.
Right. It remains to be seen.
Yeah. But just breaking down the geographical barriers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're driving everything that we did back, before the internet. This is just another step of that pendulum swinging in that direction. And for building communities of interest, whether it's cozy mysteries or writing conferences or whatever.
Yes.
Right?
Your ideal readers, right.
Your ideal, audience can be now more easily gathered from wherever, and clearly outside of the United States,
I get lots of writers from Australia. I mean, people write my newsletter and Canada, English-speaking countries, and it's just absolutely astonishing to me. I'm delighted. So
it's a thrilling thing, to be able to interact, not in person, but pretty personally,
yes,
with people from all over the place that, that just wouldn't have happened, without this technology.
Right.
And I've had several people, especially early on when we first started doing the conferences online, they'd tell me it was actually a more intimate experience. They'd use that word without me prompting it. They'd say it was a more intimate experience than an in-person conference. Because the person that is right there in front of you, that you're doing a Q&A with or listening to a presentation or whatever.
Yes.
You're sitting in the back of a room trying to keep from being distracted by the person next to you or your phone or whatever, right? You're actually sitting there paying attention to the person right in front of you. Go figure. I mean, that's not one of the pieces of feedback that I would have expected.
That's not what you'd expect. It's like for an introvert, you get that little protection, right? I mean, I would be the one sitting in the back of the room, not looking at anybody, just kind of writing things down, hoping people would ignore me. But online, I'm right up front.
Yeah.
So it attracts different people.
Mm-hmm.
My directees, I have a spiritual direction, a small practice, and they have all opted to do Zoom. They don't want to come in person anymore. So I don't know whether that's our age group or whatever, but they feel the intimacy without having to get up out of their chair.
Well, the convenience aspect of it,
yes,
it's just, you can't, fight that. I mean, it's just, everyone's recognizing. So anyway, back to books.
Okay.
I don't want you to spill the beans about too much of what you have planned.
No.
But can you talk a little bit about, where you're headed, what some of the new things are coming out?
So I have a new series. I took it down the hill from Lily Rock to Palm Springs, the Palm Springs area. My husband and I spent 2 years of his military career at 29 Palms. So I have a lot of desert feelings and thoughts and whatever. And I got a couple characters. One of them is kind of a mentalist who works at the casino, and the other is a lady who's a doula. So my research went all into it. I was just fascinated. I did a deep dive into doula work. Never expected that. Obviously, I'm not of childbearing age, so it was a big eye opener for me. And that was where the first mystery sprung from. So the new series will be out. It's called Redondo and Rose, Neighbors in Crime. And they're middle-aged people, were kind of, maybe 20 years older than the Lily Rock gang, but there's overlapping. That's my big project. I want to get people excited about those.
That's very cool. Well, your creativity is just so impressive, Bonnie. I mean, it's like, I really am thrilled for what you've accomplished over the last, several years.
Thank you. And thanks for your support and the ongoing help of Writing for Your Life. I recommend it to a lot of people. Come to me and say, I want to write a book, and I recommend it because it supports the person's spirit. And that's so essential in getting to sit down and actually put a word on a page.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, I think it's most valuable for early stage folks, that are just learning and just trying to figure this whole space out. But I appreciate you sending folks to take a look at it.
Thanks for the conversation too.
Yeah. So again, the new book is titled "'Tis the Season. Welcome to Little Rock Holiday Mystery." And you can learn more about all of Bonnie's work at BonnieHardyWrites.com. So Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us. It was so great to catch up with you, and really love what you've been doing and look forward to more.
Thanks so much. See you later.